Welcome to our second presenter today, Wayne Michelsen. He's been a hang glider pilot since the summer of 1999. He's a weekday worker and a weekend winger. And Wayne was also part of forming our mentor program at USHB. So please join me in welcoming Wayne Michelsen.
Thank you. So this presentation is about flying the San Benito Mountains. It won't be quite as fun as Bob's presentation was, because I'm not as entertaining as Bob is, but I'll give it a shot. General overview of what we're going to talk about, like where are the San Benitos. A lot of us living even up here in the Bay Area don't really kind of know where they are. Which launches do we have? What are the weather patterns that we see down there? And some of the cross-country flying sites, or launches anyway. So where is it? So there's a fairly decent mountain range down here, the San Benito Mountains, named after there's a San Benito Mountain right about there. It's the highest peak in that particular range. And it's kind of pinned in between a couple roads. Kind of describe those in a little bit as well. But before we go too far, I do need to give a shout out. So why are we flying the San Benitos anyway? It's because 15 years ago, my buddy Ben Rogers was getting tired of driving to the Sierras to find a good thermaling site. So he pulled out the DeLorme maps, and just started pawing through, figuring out where we can go. And he's the one who really did most of the homework on this area. We pulled in a few other people, myself, Ben Dunn, Don Herrick, and Eric Frobler were kind of the initial ones. I also see Trey came in. Trey's been down there early as well. But it was pioneered mostly in 2003, 2004 time frame. So again, that was a good 15 years ago. I spent many weekends camping down there, driving every road we could find. If you're familiar with the area, if you're a dirt biker or so, there's a big dirt bike group, activity down that way. It is pretty fun. We drove through almost every dirt bike road, ATV trail, things that we could barely get up, but we were trying to find any kind of accessible launch that we could find. We spoke with a whole bunch of landowners, did a lot of exploratory flights off of little knobs to, things that were so deep in that our glide out, we just kind of weren't sure, but we were kind of there with the landowner and thought, well, we didn't want to disappoint him, so we kind of squeaked out a couple pretty questionable flights as well. The other thing is, we got some help from an ex-hang glider pilot who's now a sailplane pilot, Rami Yanis. So when we started talking to him, he was describing some of the flights that the sailplane guys take and the XC routes that they have, and they've pioneered this entire area. They have great flights through there. They've told us about some of the weather conditions and some of the elevators that they've mapped out there. So Rami Yanis has also been a great source of information for us and inspiration. If you want to find out more, go to the Hollister Gliding Club. Their website has some locations of the thermal generators. There's also a mailing list, an old mail reflector, but you can kind of catch some of their activity there when they're seeing conditions turn on for the weekend. There's usually a lot of activity on their mailing list. And then I do want to say, if anybody knows of any previous hang gliding flights in the area, I would love to know. As far as we know, we were kind of pushing that envelope, but I would love to know if there's any history before me. So this looks great on my computer, not so much here. But this is kind of the satellite view of the map that we saw before. In this relief area, the peaks are about 4,000 feet, 35, 4,000 feet. The lowland is between 1,500 and 2,000 feet or so. So there's a decent elevation change there. Again, it's pretty brutal country. It's pinned in between I-5 down through the Central Valley and kind of Highway 25 or even 101 over here to the left side. But of course, if you're into 101 and King City area, there's nothing going on there anyway. So. Again, very few accessible roads. Once we're in this interior area is the Clear Creek Management Area of BLM land. It's a lot of exposed serpentine rock, asbestos, scree slopes, and things like that. Very few accessible roads though. If we zoom in a little bit, this is all Clear Creek Management Area deep in there. One of our first launches that we found was Goat Mountain. And it is officially Goat Mountain. If you drive up there, there's a little plaque and everything. The launch elevation is about 4,000 feet. We have a bailout landing zone. It's in creek bed. But even that bailout landing zone is about a 5.5 to 1 glide from launch. We're not working with a whole lot of elevation change. The vertical is only about 1,600 feet. So once you launch off, you're kind of in scratch mode right away. There's another landing zone. It's a pretty good field out over here. The more you get to know me, the more you'll realize that I forget names pretty easily. So almost everyone that I talk to becomes either a Greg or a Jerry. So I don't really know. I think this is Greg's property, but it could be Jerry, it could be Tom, I don't know. But, we have a landing zone there. And then there is a Hernandez airstrip that sailplane guys use. And it is officially an airstrip. They've buried some power lines around the south end of it. So it is an official airstrip. Access up to Goat Launch is along T103. The BLM guys actually bulldozed T103 for us. It was part of their fire management, but they actually went up to Summit really just for us, or at least that's what I was told out of the BLM office. So they like the fact that we're flying there. They try to promote multiple use of the property. But one thing that I'll try to show you later on is over the last 15 years, it's become really overgrown, both of our launches.
Are you going to mention the driving time from here then?
Sure.
That might be of interest.
Yeah, so one of the things that I mentioned is Ben Rogers, his quest was to find a thermaling site closer to here than the Sierras. And technically maybe this is, but when you look at the driving time, it's about 2 to 3 hours, maybe 3.5 to get up to Goat Launch, so, or get up to Wild Ass Launch. So closer, yeah, it's questionable. Wild Ass is on the other side of Clear Creek Management Area. The distance between them is about 5 miles air distance. It's about an hour and a half to drive through the dirt roads to get from one side to the other. So if you come down through Kenosha Valley Way, in through New Idria, you can come up from the north through the ghost town of New Idria, and if you do some Google searching, you'll find that New Idria is actually an official ghost town. It was an old mercury mine, and the buildings at this point are all dilapidated. It's really kind of an interesting place. A lot of no trespassing signs. There is a landowner that kind of manages the area, and if you go through any of the buildings, he'll come out and give you a hard time.
The Valley of Doom is not official.
Yeah, the Valley of Doom is not official. It is New Idria, but when you fly over it, there is absolutely no place to put down in there, at least as a hang glider pilot, with a few exceptions.
The reserves are for.
Yeah. If you're nice, maybe he'll tell you some stories later on. But so we have had 1 or 2 people go down in there and survive, but I don't recommend it. Anyway, so Wild Ass launch is about 4,600 feet. It's significantly higher. But more importantly, the landing zone is about 1,000 feet lower, so it's down at about 1,400 feet, giving us, about 3,000 feet of vertical. So there's a lot to work with. Unfortunately, the landing zone is that much farther away and kind of upwind, so it's about a 7.5 to 1 glide out to the primary landing zone, the first real landing zone that we can reach. And it's kind of a pointy-toed exercise if you're not finding anything. So I really don't recommend anyone going out there unless your thermaling skills are kind of like tuned up and you have a pretty high-performance glider, because it can be a stretch. Wild Ass Launch is actually on the tailings pile of San Carlos mine. It is private land. We've never spoken to the landowner, and so far we haven't had any issues. Never seen anyone out there. No one's ever bothered us about it. But if you go out there, that is kind of what you're dealing with.
Is there any no trespassing sign?
I haven't seen any. BLM. So as we drive up to Wild Ass Launch itself, we're kind of skirting BLM property. We do enter it and we come back out. They have a couple gates that may or may not be in operation. But yeah.
And it's closed because of the asbestos stuff.
When we first started going down there, everything was wide open. BLM then closed the entire Clear Creek management area for asbestos and environmental hazard studies. They since came out and they've opened it back up again. You're supposed to get permits. Each person is allowed 5 entries per year. It's a per person permit. But again, we seldom see people there. Having said that, I have come into, we have come across rangers there, so BLM rangers through there. They don't seem to really care, like, just go do whatever you want to do. But again, officially, we do need to have permits now.
And it is a locked gate.
I was going to say, I've been there. And I got a permit coming in from the west. But I've also been to Wild Ass, and there was no locked gate when I went in.
The locked gate is just the lock.
And even, 4-wheelers, I mean, they've gone around the gates. So, So in general, there's a prevailing pattern that sets up there. The area that we're talking about is down here. We end up with this marine layer that comes in through Salinas Valley. This is kind of the conditions that make the Tres Pinos flying site such a great flying site, because you get that marine layer air coming in nice and smooth and steady all day, every day. But of course that marine layer is also what shuts down thermal activity. The area that we're talking about here has a couple barriers. There's Pinoche Pass, there's Hernandez Pass, so it kind of keeps that marine layer from approaching too early. And what you get is through Central Valley, there's also this north flow that comes in. So right around the Clear Creek management area, there's a bit of a mountain convergence that sets up. You end up with north flow through Central Valley, marine layer coming in from the west, kind of meet each other over Clear Creek management area, and there's some percolation that happens because of that. So even on days, if you look at this green area, is kind of a ceiling of about 6,000 feet. Ben Rogers and I used to go down there quite often, and we'd be launching Wild Ass. We would still get 20-mile flights, even in conditions like this. Ceiling would be low, you're kind of scratching along, but it's all kind of fun. And then as soon as you get over into Pinoche Valley, later in the afternoon, you start hitting that marine layer coming in, and you're on the ground. So it happens, but it's still flyable. Unfortunately, GOAT, which is rolling about here, even if it's launchable, there's a south-facing launch and a west-facing launch. If you get down there on conditions like this, and it's coming up the west launch, chances are you're launching into a marine layer. You're just going straight to the ground. also often it'll be wrapping over from the north, kind of around to launch, and then you launch off, and you're just hoping to get to the valley. So, on the other hand, we do see some epic conditions that go off. This was 2 weekends ago when Evan came down with us and Josh. This was Sunday, and this red stuff is a 15,000 foot prediction. So on the right kind of days, when you're seeing this offshore flow, when the local forecasts in the Bay Area are predicting, like 100 degrees at Livermore, just crazy high heat, spare the air days or whatever. That's the kind of stuff that really makes the San Benitos go off. You get this offshore push, kind of needing, still the heating, so you end up with an onshore breeze kind of meeting at the San Benitos, and the whole place is just going off. Again, what we found out from the sailplane guys, these are the kind of conditions that they'll do, 700 kilometer flights, or on this particular day, they were out over Big Sur at like 15,000 feet or whatever, just crazy conditions. These are the kind of days as well where you can launch GOAT. Again, if you're kind of lucky. We usually don't go to GOAT unless there's a bit more, or I guess maybe even a stronger south prediction, because GOAT seems to be one of these places that the north or west will just overpower whatever is in the forecast. But if there's a 6 or a 7 mile an hour south predicted, then it's time to go to GOAT and fly for the south launch. So what are we using for forecasting tools? Again, when you see the Channel 4 news weather guy say that this weekend's going to be hot, 90 degrees in the Bay, 100 and some odd degrees Livermore, then it's time to start looking at the San Benitos and find out what's going on there. So 3 days out, check the 12 kilometer interpolation NAM. It seems to be pretty good. As the days go on, a lot of times it'll revise downward. But still, 24 hours out, bring up the 3 kilometer NAM, see what that's looking like. And then as you're getting closer, maybe the morning of, just see if all the models are predicted are agreeing. Is the GFS and the HRRR, are they kind of agreeing with the NAM predictions as well? If they are, then you have a pretty good shot. Another website that we've used for a long time, Dr. Jack. I've never met him, but he's a local around here. Helps the sailplane guys a lot. He does his own interpolation based upon soundings and other models. And you can pull up some of the blip spots that he has. They're text, they're tabular, but they seem to be pretty good predictions. They'll give you a lot of boundary layer information.
I haven't seen that updated for 2.5 years. I've been trying to get on that site. I've registered.
Yeah.
Have you guys experienced that too, or is it?
It's still working.
Okay.
At least these blip spots are working.
I use it most days.
Yeah.
I don't think the software and the models can update it, but the information is current.
When I put up, it says like March 2014 or something like that.
Refresh your bro.
No, I have experience for your experience too. It's like the Sailing Club has their own version of it. Maybe is what we're looking at.
So the sailplane guys also talk about a daily RASP that comes out that helps them predict where the convergence is going to be, whether it's pushing west or east, depending upon the conditions. I've never used it. They swear by it. I need to update my knowledge as well, because I've been told that's a pretty good thing. The only downside for us is it usually updates late in the morning, and for us in the Bay Area, we're already on the road down there by the time it gets out. So So XC routes. One thing to keep in mind, whether you're launching goat or wild ass, again, they're only 5 miles apart on either side of Clear Creek Management Area. As soon as you launch off, just realize the big lift is behind you. No matter what, it happens every time. No matter what the predictions are, the big lift is in the middle of Clear Creek Management Area. It's behind you, and it's scary to go back. So you need to get some altitude and just kind of work your way back, back to where the lift is. If you're a goat, you know, we're typically flying cross country to the northwest because you're launching south. You get up high, you start flying toward home because you don't feel like pushing into the south. It's not always the case, especially on calm days. If you're launching south and you get up into the upper layer and the upper layer is just calm, then you can start pushing south as well. The northwest route toward Piscinas is kind of clear. It's hard to get out of Hernandez Valley, but once you're out of Hernandez Valley, you know, you're following either Old Hernandez Road or Highway 25. You're deeper in the hills, but you know, the route's pretty clear. If you're going south toward Parkfield, it's a little dicier. You launch go, you fly the San Benitos a little bit, then you jump to Center Peak, then toward, I forget what the other one is, Smith Peak, and then into Parkfield, Parkfield area, and then start working your way south. It's a little nerve-wracking actually, because the landing zones are either pretty far away from at least paved road, and I don't know if the dirt roads are retrievable or not, or if they're behind locked gates. Just try not to go down. From Wild Ass, again, the route's pretty clear. If you launch and head toward the northwest, you're pretty much following the main range, or the front of it. Jump across Gritsville Canyon, down to the Pinoche Inn, which is a bar. That's roughly a 20-mile mark. That's a pretty fun route. And then from there, just start pushing back again toward, follow J1 toward Piscinas. We've also started making some cross-country flights from Wild Ass going over the back. So again, the problem is you launch off Wild Ass, you have to get about 3,000 to 4,000 feet up before it's comfortable to jump over. And then once you jump over, you hook up with the XC routes out of go and head down toward Parkfield. The big problem is your chase driver is going to be 3 hours behind. There's just no way around it. There's absolutely no way to get out from Wild Ass, out to I-5, start heading south any quicker. It's just a long way. So the presentation part is kind of over, but what I'm going to dive into is I'm going to bring up some of Evan's pictures from last weekend. Thanks, Evan. Sorry, I hope you don't mind. I stole it from your website. I don't think I have web access right here. Ben has a great video from an epic day that he took from Goat. Was it?
Trey.
But Trey, I guess. Yeah, killer video. I mean, just popcorn clouds everywhere. But I don't have that. So let me see if I can. So this is one of Evan's pictures. This is Wild Ass. We're actually standing on launch right here. This scree slope used to be a lot clearer. It's kind of grown up a lot. We need some maintenance on launch. But you pretty much launch heading off this way. That's pointing almost straight north. If you look out into Central Valley and you line up with some roads, the roads out in Central Valley are just going north-south, and you can see them coming right up into launch. The landing zone, the 7-1 glide is around the corner here and down. You can't see it actually while you're standing on launch. It's on the other side, that's North Hill. We've actually talked to BLM about clearing the launch on North Hill. It's not out of the question, but it seems to be a long road to get there. And we're kind of pulled off to this whole area anyway. The road's getting really bad. This is an old photo from at least 10 years ago. I think more like 12, 13 years ago. What's that?
I think that was 2003.
Yeah. So this is what it was like when we first started flying there. This is a scree pile. That's not me on launch, but I can't remember who it is. But anyway, that's pretty much staged on launch. Walking up maybe another 10 feet and running down the slope is where you go. This is where we park. The last 100 feet up the hill is a hike. It's not fun. But if you compare this, oops, not to that. This is just one of the landouts. It shows you what the terrain is like down there. This is one of Evan's photos from a couple weekends ago, and you can see the difference in the vegetation on launch. So it's really kind of grown up. It's still launchable, but it makes me a bit nervous. We need to, again, do some brush clearing. Parking areas down here, the hike up is that red line. And this is looking more kind of southwestish. This is another one of Evan's photos. So this is the town of New Adria. Again, Valley of Doom. All of these bare hillsides, if you can do a fly on the wall, it's okay. It's going to be a hard hike out, and there are no roads going through any of it there. The landing zone, this is the 7 to 1 glide out, or 7.5 to 1 glide out. Pretty much upwind, the prevailing is north, so you keep pushing straight upwind. The typical XC route follows this ridge line, goes around. Pushin Bar, the 20-mile mark, is down there on the other side of Griswold Canyon. If conditions are good, and we've been at 10, 12,000 feet here before, then you can start still push north, head up toward Pisces. This is another one of Evan's photos. This is roughly the same spot, but looking the other way. So now we're looking across, and you can see goat just on the other side of this whole Clear Creek management area. And we've started pushing over the back and doing XC flights to the south. So from here, you start fading back deeper in, and then you can see, kind of follow an XC route that goes around there and then down to the south toward Parkfield and a bit farther. Again, you can go southeast XC route or routes up to the north. Hernandez Valley is a little bit hard to get around. You either go west of it over Laguna Mountain and Black and then into Old Hernandez Valley, or stay east of it. The problem with staying east, again, there are places to land. There's an aerobatics power plane pilot who is back that way, has his own private airstrip, but is behind locked gates and everything. So I think he could be a friendly guy, but you don't know if he's going to be on there.
What direction is this photo taking?
What's that?
This photo is taken in what direction?
Facing west.
Yeah, this is facing west, yeah.
Is that Monterey Bay actually?
I think that's Salinas Valley. Yeah, King City and Salinas Valley. Yeah, Pinnacles would be kind of roughly where the lines end, a little bit farther out. I think the high train you can see over there is the backside of Big Sur.
Monterey is far away from.
Correct. Yeah.
did talk to the guy who owns the airstrip at the.
Oh, Rocky?
Turn off. Well, he said his name was York.
Oh, the Hernandez airstrip.
The Hernandez airstrip.
Okay.
And he said it was totally fine for us going down there.
Yeah.
Assuming he really wasn't there, but we were hanging out down there on the road and came out to make sure we didn't have a flat tire or something. So we didn't get back.
Yeah, right on.
So,
So I was hoping to have. Does anyone know?
There's
Yeah.
Wi-Fi.
Yeah, so there are a bunch of flights here. So this is one of the better flights that we've had out of Go. So this is, again, one of the better flights we've had out of Go. Climbing up, heading out over Center Peak Center Peak is roughly down here. Passing Parkfield somewhere along this road, crossing 4146 all the way down into Carrizo Plain. This one was about 105 miles. We had a similar one. Similar flight from Wild House as well. Sorry about this. These things always work better at home. So again, similar flight as well out of Wild Ass, and I'll show you how these are going. So what I wanted to show here is, again, from Go, the successful thing to do is to launch off, climb up, and then head deep into quick management area to get high. Likewise from Wild Ass, you launch off, then either head up north a bit, or wherever, you can start gaining altitude. Again, get high and then start drifting back, and then you can connect the two cross-country routes and then start heading south. Likewise, we have a couple.
So this would have been one of the things that they where you launch this flight for the
So at the launch level, it was blowing pretty northwest, almost like the marine influence was there that day, which I think it was. The altitude, the wind direction change, you can kind of see it. I mean, the thermal changes around.
But again, these flights to the south, we've really just started to do them. They've been a little difficult, or a little elusive. More likely, we're seeing stuff like this a lot. So these are some flights that we've had going the other way. Well, kind of the other way. Hold on. Yeah. These are more typically when we're heading north. So again, we go, launch off, kind of start heading north. This is Old Hernandez Valley. So you're still kind of heading, a bit northeast of Old Hernandez Valley, as high into the train as you can. One of the things that happens, and Ben's been in this situation, you can be 13,000 feet right here, and then all of a sudden you hit the marine layer, and you're down on the ground within, no time. But these are kind of the routes that we've had going toward the north or northwest. So that's kind of about it. I'm not sure if anybody has any questions. We've slowly been, teasing out the secrets to this area. We still have kind of some missed calls on the Saturday before Evan and Josh and Greg came down. The day before, we tried to fly GOAT because there was a 6-mile-an-hour south forecast. We got down there, it was blowing, trickling over from the north. It was a disaster. So a long way down and back. Didn't work.
In a scenario where you hit the marine layer halfway through that, can you make a right and head for the valley and stay on the convergence line, or is that terrain just?
Yeah, no, I think it's probably possible. I haven't thought to do it, mainly because on the days that we fly, quite often there are just no clouds. It's just hard to see what's happening. If there are clouds, or Ben's better at seeing haze domes than I am. I'm flying blind. So all I know is I'll hit it, and there I go. Yeah.
Are there other launches that you had and gave up on, or wish you had, or trying to find?
Yeah, there's another one. There's a nice peak over here called Samson Peak, nice pointy looking thing, and right to the north of it is a bare open scree slope, one of these asbestos or serpentine scree slopes. We just couldn't get to it, by road. There was a dirt road that went somewhere around, and Don was there, I think, that day. We drove way around it, spent 4 hours trying to get around the thing. We just never found a way up.
We did fly off quartz lines.
Yeah, there's, on your way up to Wild Ass, there's an old mining tailings area, and a little shelf, like halfway up the cut-in. And somehow we crawled out there with 3 or 4 of us with our wings and set up and jumped off of that.
It's interesting on Benitos.
Yeah, it wasn't worth it.
I've got a little slideshow on my website if you want to bring it up.
Sure.
Just donharris.com.
For the paragliders, code form, the North Peak feels a little more comfortable. I've been down there 4 times. I have yet to fly.
Paragliders have landed in the valley without problems.
Yeah, I know it's been flown. It's on the Zephyr website. It's described from pretty far back. You were asking about history. I'm trying to remember the guy's name. There's a guy who flies with this polished or something called Matt Gellis, I want to say.
Yeah, Matt.
You know Matt.
Yeah.
And I thought, my impression talking to him was that he's been flying paragliders from there way back, but...
Yeah, I'm aware of it. We down there just flying
Like
off the same colors.
Really?
It's essentially one of us.
Yeah, it is. Okay, yeah, I wasn't aware of that.
It's a very different place now.
And all I had heard of is Mark Grubb said they went out and they tried to tow along Kenosha, or along Idria Valley before. You know, truck tow, that was a different thing.
Bellacita would be one.
And did
Q launch is a course.
have extensive exchange with the BLM office, and they gave us permission to clear both the launches. So on Goat and on Goat Horn. I've been out to Goat Horn. We improved the trail a little bit. We did a little bit of clearing, but it's over the back and we can fly. It needs more love for sure, but it's a lot closer to the LZ. And I think my name's Tom. I've talked to you.
Oh, you're okay, yeah.
Via the internet, but it's a lot closer to the LZ. It feels a little safer for PG because it's right on the ridge that points right to the base of the airstrip.
Right.
And you were saying that's where you usually get at is on the
Yeah, right around that. Yeah, right around that end.
Yeah.
Or it's our last ditch, right? So, yeah. I mean, one is a little bit lower, but that's okay. But yeah, if you can clear it, you know, the problem is if you're launching that west side of it, you know, chances are you're launching into something that's not that great. If you launch into the north side, well, you still have to make that corner around. So
That's what's spooky.
yeah.
The sailplane pilot is called Goat and Elevator.
Yeah, but you know, the more we fly there, you know, of course they're getting there with 1,000, 2,000 feet over anyway. But I think what they're talking about is behind. Like I always find lift behind, but you have to get a couple thousand feet up over before you can venture back there. So
Because it's 60 miles an hour, 30 seconds is half a mile, which is easy to say.
yeah,
That's the Valley.
yeah.
It's the hike up.
So the one you just strolled past, that's the hike up to San Carlos Peak, which had been new in there just 2 weeks ago. No, it doesn't look like that. It's completely overgrown on both sides.
This was 15 years ago.
Yeah, this is 15 years ago.
Launch was pretty simple.
Well, no, this is quartz. This is
quartz.
like on the way up there. There's they carved away some mining operation carved away part of the hillside, and this was a shelf halfway up the hillside that we accessed from the back. So yeah, I remember this.
Yes.
And Eric, you were Eric Froelich was the first one off of that one. Yeah, this is the landing zone.
Bailout?
Yeah, the bailout.
There's your wing.
So yeah, so this is bailout.
In the spring.
Clearly in the spring, and launch is somewhere like way back here, or around the corner there somewhere. So it's kind of a long way away.
Just the next episode.
Yeah. Oh yeah. This is good. This is New Idria, ghost town.
It's really spooky.
Yeah. And it's a lot more run down. This was 15 years ago.
The next set of the 12. San Carlos Mines.
Yeah. So this is San Carlos mine area. This is down closer to where we park.
They're all mines, and you can go into some. That's San Carlos. the
Yeah.
launch
So
right
this
there.
is the launch when it was clear.
Yeah, it doesn't look like that. We cleared the road rush about 3 months ago.
Yeah. Anyway, that's about it.
How much work do you think is needed? Half a day? A day?
Well, yeah, launch has a couple of pine trees growing up. Yeah, it would take a day, to clear everything out. Probably goat as well. There's a nice big pine tree that would be good to take out on the west launch. The problem with wild ass is the New Idria as a mining site closed in 1974, And I think that was the last time they did any work on any of the roads through that entire New Idria Valley. So it's all potholed, and it's a rough road to go through now. And when in 2003, 4, 5, when we first started flying here, Ben Rogers had a BMW 325i that we took up to lunch. So it kind of tells you, yeah, now it's like my 4Runner barrel, has trouble in some areas. So, yeah, it's.
What about that road that connects from boat to Wawa's?
We've done it. It takes like 3 hours.
Yeah, it's a long way.
And it's locked, right?
It is locked. You can get around the gates, and you can get theoretically you can get combinations. Last time I got a permit,
I did that once. It wasn't that big a deal. It took 4 days of back and forth with the BLM.
Yeah.
Did your combination work there?
Yeah, mine didn't.
Because that was before the new road was cut out to go. It's outside of the closed area, and so we went up the old one, and that was pretty exciting. Like there was a point where we thought we were excited, and we were like 7 feet up.
So if you go to goat, it's blowing in the wrong direction. It's going to take too long to get to wild ass to launch that to send it.
Yeah, no, I have to say I did it once. So I had a Craigslist driver. We went up goat. It was blowing over the back, so we actually we went around the lock gates. Went to goat, and actually ended up with a good flight. I was eye to eye with the water bomber, who was a Celtic fire guy. Because while we were driving across, a fire started on Hernandez airstrip. So by the time I launched Wild Ass, the bombers were coming in, and I was crossing Valley of Doom, just eye level there. That was interesting.
Speaking of your Craigslist drivers, you should tell the story about the one you picked up at the bar in Dallas. I mean, you went to his trailer, pounded on his door.
Yeah.
He told he didn't remember then. And I was in the back of the pickup truck, and as we were leaving, I see a shotgun pointing at me.
Yeah.
It's dinosaur country down there.
Yeah.
Part of the adventure.
So anyway, that's it.
Nice.